Welcome to Talking Giants Rams preview. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, presented by John Boy Media. I just rambled that intro all in one. This is the preview of the Rams game. We're presented by John Boy Media. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host Justin Pennick. We got an interview with Cameron DaSilva of Rams Wire, and then we'll finish up with our fantasy draft, giant factors, and game predictions. Justin, what's going on? How you feeling after 0-3? Looking the Rams just down the barrel at the Rams.
Bobby, I think for that intro, you wanted to say presented by John Boy Media before you said Rams preview, but then you just mixed them up and your brain got confused and you didn't want to go back on it and you played it very smooth. I thought you played it very smooth, but I think that's where your brain was. You wanted to say presented by John Boy Media first.
I always do presented by John Boy Media first, but I didn't.
Threw you off. It's all right.
I did.
Take a lap.
No, we're not taking. We're not. Laps jokes aren't funny anymore.
No,
we need a win before lap jokes are funny. Justin, this Rams team is 2-1, and the only loss was, they came back from a 28-3 deficit to a Buffalo Bills team that I like a lot. Josh Allen has had an MVP caliber start to a season, and they ended up coming back and winning that game in the final second. So they're a few plays away from being 3-0 against the Cowboys, who aren't good, but are they're on that mix of good, good against bad teams and bad against good teams. The Eagles, who are a train wreck, and then right there with the Bills, who have looked awesome. Every week is going to be a tough matchup for the New York Giants, but this I think is going to be an especially tough one because of some of the things they do.
Yeah, and especially on the offensive side of the ball for the Rams, we're feeling somewhat confident in, maybe not from last week because we didn't even allow a single punt and every single possession ended up in some kind of points for the 49ers last week, but the offense obviously doesn't help that. But on the offensive side of the ball for the Rams, Jared Goff is having a really efficient year. Jared Goff was never the kind of guy that's going to win football games because of his great down-the-field performance and him taking over games. It was going to be that 2018 formula that he had, and they seem to be back. The Rams offense, they seem to be back because also they're running the ball very well, too, with the two-headed monster in that backfield. They're efficient. I thought they were a little bit more 12 personnel heavy. They were definitely more 12 personnel heavy with utilizing two tight ends in 2019. And it was largely because one of their weaknesses was the offensive line. And that was people in LA's reasons for Jared Goff not being as good last year because the offensive line wasn't good. Well, they had an offseason to improve things. They're running more 11 personnel to start the season. They're winning football games. They got weapons on offense. They're being efficient, and they're looking good on the offensive side of the ball. And that was their main concern, and they obviously have playmakers on defense as well.
Yeah, I think they're as balanced as an offense as you can find. It doesn't mean they're the best offense, but they're extremely balanced. The offensive line, like you said, has improved for them. They've only given up 4 sacks. They're 24th in the league in pressure percentage, which means they're top 8. Goff is completing over 70% of his passes. They're the highest in play action. They're second highest in yak. I feel like this offense right now is a product of Sean McVay. Sean McVay was the guy, and then he one bad year, and it feels like we've forgotten where 2 years ago the offseason was if you had a cup of coffee with Sean McVay, you became a head coach joke. So people have fallen asleep on Sean McVay because of the guy we faced last week in Kyle Shanahan, but Sean McVay has looked to bring this Rams team back after a down, not even a horrible year last year, just a down year from being in the Super Bowl the year before. And they spread it around. I mean, they literally have a 2 running back system. Henderson and Brown are separated by 1 carry. Cooper Kupp is their lead receiver, but targets are spread around. Cooper Kupp just catches 86% of his freaking catches. Goff, like I said, completing over 70% of his passes, doing a lot of play action. That's kind of some of the stuff that Sean McVay introduced of hey, just run a ton of play action, using motion. So this Rams offense is very balanced, and that's what worries me about the Giants is because the Giants is a defense that has some – honestly, our best players have stepped up this year. James Bradbury, Blake Martinez, Leonard Williams. Our better players have stepped up, but it's the defense of hey, cornerback 2 is a weakness. Nickel corner. Darnay Holmes, eventually we think he could be a strength, but right now he's a weakness. Inside linebacker number 2 is a weakness. So, and no David Mayo back this week, even though I think we're going to actually stay in some 3 safety stuff, even with Peppers gone. It's going to be interesting to see how McVay attacks this defense.
Andrew Whitworth also keeps Jerry Reese up at night because I'm pretty sure the same offseason that he was a free agent, it's possible that we drafted Eric Flowers, and a lot of Giants fans wanted to sign Andrew Whitworth. Like that was like a no-brainer decision, and somehow he is still in the NFL. One of the reasons why you didn't want to sign Andrew Whitworth at the time was because of his age, and he's still found a way to stay in the NFL, and he's still pretty productive. So shout out Jerry Reese. Bobby, yes, you're 100%.
Shout out Jerry Reese. We play Leonard Floyd this week too.
Oh yes. Oh, he was Jerry Reese's sweetheart. But Bobby, about our defensive playmakers and the guys that we're expecting to perform, they have. And I think that's been one of the main differences about how this Giants defense has performed, particularly in the first 2 weeks compared to years past, because we've been looking at this defense saying, okay, this
Even
is a
week 3.
fine. Week 3. Well,
I mean, Blake Martinez was great in week 3. Leonard Williams was great in week 3, and James Bradbury was great in week 3. He didn't have an interception, but he was great last week.
But I understand why fans, when maybe we'll make silly posts on social media about Leonard Williams having a really good week or James Bradbury having a good week, Blake Martinez, et cetera, et cetera. I can understand why fans would still get frustrated by saying, well, what did they do? What did the team do? So, but especially the first 2 weeks as a whole, I feel partially why this defense has overexceeded expectations is because they have had those players stepping up and making concrete good plays and game-changing, game-impacting plays. And that is not something that we've had in years past, where one particular guy, Leonard Williams getting a sack, Leonard Williams getting a QB hit on a third down that forces an incompletion, Blake Martinez going sideline to sideline off of a screen, James Bradbury getting a pass deflected. Those are things that we just haven't had. So you're hoping, once again, that this defense can do that for you. But also, the biggest bugaboo that is facing this defense right now is getting off the field on third down. They're the second worst team in the NFL at getting off the field on third down. Ironically enough, they're the second best team in the NFL on first down production in terms of not allowing yards and not allowing offenses to move forward on first down. They're 2 totally different ends of the spectrum, and I'm sure that's something that Patrick Graham is scratching his head over about how we can fix that.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about it on Wednesday. I'm actually kind of happy with the Chicago third down 3-man rush stuff. Drove me crazy, but other than that, I've actually been pretty happy with Graham, how he's called defense.
Here's my main question for you in terms of how the Rams maybe attack the Giants defense. And you watched some film this week. Obviously, you didn't watch all of the film on the Los Angeles Rams, but the Rams do have the experience of playing 12 personnel with 2 tight ends. And obviously, we know how much Sean McVay likes to run out of 11 personnel. Frankly, I think this year they're more balanced than they've ever been, where they're not black or white on either end of the spectrum, where Sean McVay used to be like 90% of the time running out of 11 personnel. Do you think the Rams go a little bit more run-heavy in terms of their formations and putting out running formations because they want Devontae Downs on the field, and that's bad for the Giants?
No, because they're not the 49ers. Devontae Downs, I think Devontae Downs will get the Corey Ballantyne treatment anyways. I actually think, call me crazy, but I think they actually will pull the trigger and play Tay Crowder as that inside linebacker number 2. But I don't think we are letting the Rams forcing us to put 2 inside linebackers. They will do 3 safeties, and we don't even know who that third safety would be, hopefully not Ebner. But, hell, it might even be just – I wouldn't be surprised if they just have Fackrell playing straight up inside linebacker, because a lot of times they would put Devontae Downs, and then depending on the formation, they would put Downs on the edge where he just doesn't belong. We're getting nerdy with this stuff, but I do not think it. I do think they are going to pass the ball on us a ton. I think that is going to be. They are not going to be trying to pound the rock against us. I believe they'll be trying to pass it against this defense and picking on cornerback 2 and slot.
Hey, Bobby, the first 2 weeks, the Rams, week 1, it was a pretty close game, but week 2 against the Eagles, it was not really a blowout. It wasn't really a close game.
First it was competitive 2 weeks. The majority of the game.
But still, the first 2 weeks, the Rams, not counting the third week because, of course, the data hasn't been refreshed yet, but the first 2 weeks, the Rams were the least pass-happy team in the National Football League. They've been running the ball well, and something just about Devontae Downs very quickly, why he may get the boot, or you would hope that he would get the boot. First 2 weeks, he only had 14 defensive snaps. Second week, he had 11. Against San Francisco, he had 55. So he actually had an opportunity to do something, and he didn't do anything, and he cost the team. So hopefully the Giants do go with that Corey Ballantyne treatment.
Yeah, and I wasn't mad about him playing San Francisco. I said before the game, you got to play a second inside linebacker in San Francisco. The issue is we just don't have one.
Here's another question.
David Mayo's not back.
Here's another question. Yeah, David Mayo's not back. Maybe he'll be back next week, within 2 weeks, whatever. But I find it to be crazy that Marcus Golden right now is getting like 30%. He got like 30% of the snaps last week. And O'Shane Zimenez got like 60% last week. But in situations where you want to have two interior linebackers, would you be okay with putting Lorenzo Carter? Because Lorenzo Carter is going to be on the field no matter what. That's clear. He's not coming off the field. Would you be fine with putting Lorenzo Carter as like that off-ball interior linebacker for the sake of getting some of these other edge rushers that we want to see more, getting those guys reps? I think that's yes, right?
Yeah, I think they're going to do that with him and Fackrell. Like him and Fackrell will both kind of have that role. So let's talk about their defense. Some just quick stats and things I noticed of them. They don't blitz. They blitz the fifth least in the NFL at 18%. They only is a weird word, but they have 7 sacks for the season in 3 games. Aaron Donald has 3 of those. They are 22nd in creating pressure. Teams have been able to run the ball against them. I know that we haven't been. We've been the worst running team in the NFL, but Dallas 24 carries for 106 yards. Philly 24 carries, 114 yards, and then last week Buffalo 16 for 88. So teams are averaging, their running backs are averaging 4.8 yards per carry.
Those are also some pretty good offensive lines and pretty good running backs there too.
The Eagles were banged up. 24 points per game are being scored against them. Donald's their guy. Like Jalen Ramsey is a good corner, but he hasn't had like a shutdown season because they're actually kind of playing him in some zone and stuff. They're top 10 in missed tackles. I know Aaron Donald's a beast, and we'll talk about Aaron Donald in the Giant Factor segment on the second part of the show. But Aaron Donald shouldn't destroy this his presence shouldn't destroy this offensive line because the Rams, they rely on Donald being the guy. So he'll have some plays, but Donald is going to be double teamed consistently, I believe. And those other guys, Leonard Floyd, Brockers, those aren't guys that should destroy you. They aren't. And their linebackers, Micah Kaiser, they liked him to start. He hasn't been great since. If there's a team we can run the ball against, it has to be this team because Aaron Donald obviously is probably the best defensive player in the NFL, but we have to trust our guards to be able to you're not going to stop Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's a beast.
No.
You've got to be able to run the ball. We've got to be able to some kind of running game. I'm not saying we got to run for over 100 yards with our running backs, but it can't be as bad as it's been. And so hopefully they spread it out a little bit is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, Bobby, let's take a quick little look at the schedule. We're playing the Cowboys, who they're best known for their interior defensive line. Their linebackers are banged up. We'll talk about that next week. Then Washington, we know their front. Eagles, we know their front. Bucks are known for having one of the best run defenses, but having a bad pass defense. Washington again, Philly again, then a bye. So where's that game going to happen that we're going to break out in the run game and this offensive line is going to get some sort of traction? But also, we can't beat ourselves. That's the main thing. And we talked about it on Wednesday's show. The continual problem of running into heavy man boxes on the offensive side of the ball where there's, 7, 8, 9 guys in the box. We've been talking about it since week 1. And when you use pre-snap motion, Jason Garrett, don't utilize it on a run play where you're going to put your wide receiver inside the box to therefore add another man into the box. Like common sense things. We're fans. We're not the most intelligent football minds in the world, but I think we can understand how that makes zero sense.
Yeah, yeah. Don't coach like this offensive line as the Dallas Cowboys offensive line. That's basically what I'm saying. All right, let's kick it to the interview. Unless you got anything else you want to hit on, and then we'll hit on a lot in the fantasy draft and Giant factors.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Cameron DaSilva of Giants Wire. All right, we now welcome onto the program of the Rams Wire. He knows our good friend Dan Benton of Giants Wire. Cameron DaSilva. Cameron, what's going on, man? I appreciate you giving us a few minutes.
Hey, doing well. Thanks for having me on.
For sure. So, obviously, you cover the Rams. The Giants are looking 0-4 right in the face. You guys are coming off of kind of a heartbreaking loss after a comeback against the Bills, and then Josh Allen pulled off some heroics and with a little help of a pass interference at the end. But I like to ask this question first because we know about Aaron Donald. We know about Sean McVay and Jared Goff. But on the defensive side for the Rams, is there like a weak spot? Like it seems like, most teams have like a weak player, whether it's their nickel corner, outside corner, linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a weak spot that the Rams are don't want teams to attack?
Yes, there's actually a few spots on the Rams defense that may not get as much attention as being weaknesses as it probably should. But the nickel corner spot with Troy Hill, it's kind of been he's kind of learning on the job because he was an outside corner last year and played really well. And then they transitioned him inside to the slot, and he's just struggled. He's struggled with tackling. He's struggled with coverage. I counted 5 or 6 missed tackles last week alone. And when you're a nickel corner with all of these off-tackle runs, you got to be able to tackle. You got to be able to kick guys on the ground, and he just struggled with that. So that's a spot where the Giants can attack a little bit. The Rams linebackers inside and outside have been really struggling this season. Micah Kaiser had a great game in week 2, and then he was kind of spotty in week 1 and week 3. The outside linebackers just aren't generating much pressure at all. Leonard Floyd is a better run defender than he is a pass rusher, and he's just not doing much in the way of getting pressure on quarterbacks. So I would say those are the weak spots of the defense right now.
Okay. So you mentioned Leonard Floyd, the pass rush. Obviously, Aaron Donald's Aaron Donald. We all know he's a monster. Mm-hmm. But with that, you guys are like the Rams are bottom 5 in blitzing, and a little higher in like pressure and sacks and stuff. Mm-hmm. Are they not getting to the QB besides Aaron Donald? And after that, how are they like playing on the back end? Is it a lot of man coverage or going in zone or what?
They actually play a lot of zone, which I'm surprised by because with Jalen Ramsey and Troy Hill, I thought their strong suits would be kind of a man-heavy defense, but they've played a ton of zone defense, a lot of quarters. They're just not getting pressure on the quarterback other than Aaron Donald. And with him, teams are almost approaching it like we're going to double and triple team him and then make someone else beat us. And it's not really happening. So they don't blitz often. And when they do, it's usually with a corner like Troy Hill. Sometimes they'll send their inside linebackers on rushes, but not too often. But they just have to find a way to generate some pressure. And I think this week could be a kicking off point for them against this Giants offensive line. So we'll see how they do, but the pressure has just not been good enough from guys not named Aaron Donald.
Right. So you mentioned, zone, but with Ramsey, has he been like, the shutdown corner that, the NFL has come into known, or our teams, is he like following the number 1 wide receiver around? How are they using Ramsey?
They move him around some, but not exclusively to cover a number 1 receiver. He's, like I said, they've played a lot of zone, so he's not really necessarily matching up man-to-man with the top receiver. He was great in weeks 1 and 2. He didn't allow a single catch in week 2. He was only targeted twice by Carson Wentz. And then last week against the Bills, he gave up a touchdown to Stephon Diggs. It seemed like he freelanced a little bit on the first touchdown to the tight end, kind of left his man and tried to read the quarterback's eyes. So he'll do that from time to time, but I think maybe last week was kind of an outlier with a rough game against the Bills, trying to do too much and trying to do more than he really should in this defense.
Right. What is it that the Bills were able to do to get 30+ points on? You mentioned some weaknesses, but a team with a lot of tough defense. Is it just the Bills are that good?
No, I think there was a lot of miscommunication with the Rams. They had to switch out their safety from Jordan Fuller to Taylor Rapp, which going from a 6th-year rookie to a 2nd-year veteran, you wouldn't think it would cause any issues. But rep. There was some miscommunication. He allowed a 39-yard catch. He was kind of in coverage, really not covering anyone on the first touchdown. There was a miscommunication again on another long pass to Cole Beasley. So just some communication issues on the back end that they needed to get squared away, and they did in the second half. But the first half, the Bills were rolling. The Rams' tackling was really poor. Josh Allen was getting out of the pocket and extending plays with his legs, and the Rams were just not getting enough pressure. So it made it easier on them to kind of move the ball downfield and pick up big chunk plays.
Right. So I want to switch gears to the offense. Goff came under a lot of heat last year. I mean, he seemed to be like, NFL media's whipping boy. This year it seems like he's had a little resurgence, completing 70% of his passes. What has been the difference from this year to last year?
McVay's helping him a lot this year with just the play calling and the design of plays and really the blocking and protection. But the offensive line has improved significantly from last year. It was really a weak point for them last season, and Jared Goff was throwing under pressure often. I know he was sacked, I think, the fewest times in the league, but he was just under constant pressure, getting rid of the ball, throwing inaccurately. And this season, he's getting more time. His footwork has improved a ton. Really just subtle side steps in the pocket, getting away from rushers and setting his feet and making accurate throws. It's just improved immensely. So that's helped him a lot. But he's also gotten a lot of open receivers and made easy throws, really no-brainers that a lot of quarterbacks can make. But really that was the case in weeks 1 and 2. And then last week against the Bills, he was just really sharp. He had 9 incompletions, and I think 6 of them were like at or behind the line of scrimmage. So it was a really good game from him. He only had 1 interception. Otherwise, it was one of his better games I've seen him play.
So you mentioned guys being open. Is it, McVay scheming guys open through zones, or are they just playing really well? Because the Giants are a team that plays a ton of man coverage, and Bradbury's been good, but some of the other guys have been a weakness.
It's been a little bit of both. There's been a lot of play action, really a ton of play action. I think the Rams are like second or
in
third.
the league.
Yeah, exactly.
We're last.
Yeah, they've been running a ton of play action, a lot of rollouts and bootlegs for Goff, which it really helps him see the field because it cuts it in half, and he doesn't have to make these crucial decisions throwing to one side or the other. Receivers are just getting schemed open with great route combinations that put defensive backs in a bind, especially in zone coverage. On these rollouts, they sometimes have the tight end stay in and block, and then he slips out wide open up the field, and you're wondering where that guy came from. But it's been a combination of both. The receivers are really talented, great route runners, so it does help Goff, but McVay has done a really, really good job with the scheming this year.
Right. So you mentioned an improved offensive line. Is there still a weak spot on it, though?
I don't necessarily know that you can say there's a weak spot of the offensive line right now. There was at left guard with Joe Noteboom, who got hurt in week 2. He was replaced by David Edwards now, who's a second-year player, and he played really well against the Bills, and he played well against the Eagles in relief. So I don't know that you can say there's really a weak spot right now. Right tackle, Rob Havenstein's playing much better than he did last year. Andrew Whitworth is still a stud at left tackle. Austin Blythe moved from guard to center this year, so he's playing really well at his more natural position. So I don't really think there's a weak spot of the offensive line that teams can attack, which is great news for the Rams. And then Austin Corbett, I didn't mention him, but at right guard, he's having a good season.
Yeah, I remember he was involved in that trade with Cleveland last year.
Mm-hmm.
Have they been able to open up lanes with the run game? I feel like you guys have been kind of middle of the pack.
Yeah, they have been. Yeah, they've been really good in the running game. Darrell Henderson had some big holes last week against the Bills. A lot of that was Austin Corbett and Austin Blythe in the middle. So they've done a really good job opening up holes in the running game, which was not necessarily the case last season with Todd Gurley running. And I think that kind of plays into both hands with him not seeing holes and not being as quick through the hole as the Rams probably would have liked him to be. But yeah, the offensive line has been good in pass protection, and I would say even better in run blocking.
Okay. Well, Cameron, appreciate you giving us some time. We'll obviously tag you and everything. Everyone go follow him. Always a good Rams follow. Cameron, appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
All right, we now welcome on Weatherman Danny King, with the weather. Weatherman Dan, what's it looking like in Los Angeles for Sunday? Any fires?
Uh, I
Oh.
don't I don't think it's gonna be any fires this week at least. Who knows what's gonna happen the rest of the week? The weather's actually gonna be quite bad. The weather for kickoff is gonna be dome. That's the weather.
Oh yeah, they play in a dome. They
play
do
in a
play in a
dome.
dome.
So
So the air quality doesn't even matter.
Nope, air quality doesn't even matter. I heard there's like a nice breeze that comes out from like that whole opening. That's what I heard from Al Michaels. So
Yeah,
that's the weather report. A lot of dome.
A
A lot of dome.
A lot of dome. Sounds like Saturday night.
Like
License-
Isaac, ya dome.
License plate guy. I bet you he is really missing out on a like visiting that stadium this year. So suck
Oh,
it.
I would love to go to that stadium.
Suck it, license plate guy. All right, fantasy draft. If this is your first time listening to our preview show, we do a 4-round fantasy draft from only teams from the Giants in the matchup. So we have the Giants and the Rams this week, obviously. Danny is in first place. He has 120 points on the year. He had 29.2 last week. Justin's in second with 94.9. He actually won the week last week with 32.9.
Coming back.
Bobby's in third, 62.2 points and 19.6 points last week.
I think
you
each
just
week,
suck.
Bobby, you've walked away from your fantasy picks being like, I don't know what you guys are doing. This is like I feel like I have the best team each week. And I guarantee you the week that you keep your mouth shut, you're going to win. I guarantee
Don't
you. If
jinx
you
it.
just
That
keep
is
your
my
mouth shut.
strategy this week. My strategy is to be humble this week.
Oh, okay. That's a first.
All right.
He
So
doesn't know the definition of humble.
I remember I was like week 1, I was just like trashing you. And week 1 was actually my best week. I'll say that. And last week I was screwed by George Kittle. I've been screwed by George Kittle and Jason Garrett last week. How about that? Because Slayton should have had a bigger game. How about that? All right. So Danny, you have the first pick this week. Justin, you are second. I'll be third, and then we'll snake it till we make it. Danny, who's kicking off the week 4 fantasy draft?
Says, I'm going Rams because the Rams are a good team. And I'm stuck between Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods because I'm trying to think who is more likely Bradbury going to be covering. I'm gonna say it's going to be Robert Woods, not Cooper Kupp. So I'm going to take Cooper Kupp with my first pick. I love Cooper Kupp. Justin, what's that face over there?
That was my
There we go.
disgruntled face.
There we go. But Cooper Kupp, I love Cooper Kupp. I love when I first saw him in LA, what was it, like 2017, 2018? I fell in love with Cooper Kupp. He's a great player, and I think him and Goff have that great chemistry. So I got Cooper Kupp with my first pick.
Yeah, he was number 1 on my big board. What about you, Justin?
Yeah, simply because he's lining up at the slot. He's going to be going up against Darnay Holmes. I may be talking more about that in my Giant Factor, so I'll hold my thoughts on that.
Okay, save your Cooper Kupp takes for Giant Factor. Justin, who is pick number 2?
Oh, Rams have a really, really high rush rate through the first 2 weeks. Obviously, they were coming back in a football game last week, so they weren't running the ball that much. But the two-headed backfield makes me scared. But I love Robert Woods. I think Robert Woods also has rushing potential as well. They give him the ball a lot on these sweeps. He looked really, really good towards the second half of last year. He was one of the best fantasy wide receivers towards the second half of last year. It's interesting to see how he's being used now that the Rams are going towards more of 11 personnel instead of 12 personnel. I love Robert Woods nevertheless. Think this Rams offense is just really good. Give me Robert Woods. Play action, crossing routes, going to be happening all day. Doesn't even matter if you have Deion Sanders covering guys like that. Crossing routes are always going to work.
Not against James Bradbury, who is the best corner in the NFL right now. I don't think that's even an exaggeration. Like, he has been a shutdown corner, some of the plays he's made. So Robert Woods would have been my pick if you didn't take Darrell Henderson Jr. Henderson Jr. has been a beast. He's averaging, almost 6 yards per carry. 201 yards, 2 touchdowns. This week, I think is like he'll take the reins for it. So he was second on my big board, and I'm taking Darrell Henderson Jr. first. And I feel terrible about it because we are a Giants podcast. I like to be optimistic, and we just didn't take a single Giant in round 1. Actually, I should have taken a Giant because it's snake draft and being like, I believe in my team, and then
Bobby doesn't believe in his team.
I know.
I don't either.
No, we're making a statement. It's a statement of protest this week.
Yeah,
We're
that's true. All right, so or it could be a riot. All right, who am I going with my? Depending on what side of the aisle you land on, is what you call it. All right. Did you see Donald Trump? If there's one thing you could agree with Donald Trump, he said Philadelphia bad things happen in Philadelphia.
That is true. That is a true statement. That is true. That is a true statement.
Eli's Manning wife wouldn't even go there because of how bad things are there.
Your brain wanted to go back to Giants, but I can see your brain just churning right now. So like, do I want to talk about politics? Do I mention this joke? Do I keep going with this or do I keep moving on? So how about we keep moving on, Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all agree that Philly sucks. If there's one thing we can agree, because I wasn't going to say anything about the debates. I was just going to do our joke, vote for Bobby and Justin. And I was like, all right, that one's worth it. That one is worth it. I feel like anybody can get offended by that. All right, so pick number 2 for me, snaking back. Man, I'm going to go because I think this guy's going to be involved in the pass game. So even if it's not there on the ground, he can get me some points. I'm going Devontae Freeman. I think he's going to be the lead back for the New York Giants. And I think if there's, like I said in the beginning of the show, if there's any week we can run the ball, it has to be this week. We have to get some kind of run game going. I get they have Aaron Donald in the middle, but we have to get some kind of run game going. And I think he'll get 3-4 catches in the receiving game because of the way the Rams protect the middle of the field anyways. So I'm going Devontae Freeman. I feel like it's a low risk decision, but I'm going with both teams starting running backs.
This is the week to choose Freeman, I think, because as you said, the Rams defense isn't the best in the league, and next week I feel like the Cowboys are just going to stuff him. So I think Freeman is honestly, even though I laughed at it, I think this would be the week to run Freeman, even though I'm trying to trade him in fantasy.
Well, I'm saving all Aaron Donald takes for my Giant factor. All right, Justin, who's your second pick?
Give me Tyler Higbee, baby. Give me Tyler Higbee. Balled out last week. Logan Ryan did make some nice plays on some San Francisco tight ends last week. I've actually been pretty impressed with how Logan Ryan's played. Jabril Peppers is out, so safety depth is a little thin. And Tyler Higbee has been pretty impressive, even stemming back to the latter parts of last year. So I'm feeling great about my front 2 right now.
Okay. Higbee, he had that 3 touchdown game against Philly, and he's only got 10 catches on the year. So I don't know. I'm not big on Higbee, even though I do have him on one of my fantasy teams. Danny, who you got for pick number 2?
My pick, I'm confident with this pick. The only question I have is, will he actually be healthy? Because apparently he has an illness, and that's Josh Reynolds. If you look at a season, he's only improved game by game. Week 1 catch for 17 yards. Week 2 catches for 33 yards. And last week, 4 catches for 60 yards. Whoever Jake Bradbury is dealing with mainly is not going to be the best to pick each week. And then everyone else, the other 2 wide receivers, are the picks to make because the Giants corners are going to struggle to slow him down. Give me Josh Reynolds and keep giving me the Rams. Keep feeding them to me.
Feed him Rams. We'll feed you them right after we blow. Actually, I'll save that for my prediction. And then Danny, you got it's Snake, so you got one more pick.
It is Snake.
Keep taking the Rams, please. Keep taking the Rams.
I feel like I cannot take a Giant, I feel like it's a requirement.
I mean, we've literally taken their entire starting lineup.
Screw it. At this point. I believe in this guy. I believe he's going to continue having a good week. Give me Evan Ingram. I believe he's going to have a great week this week.
Good pick.
I think Evan Ingram's going to go out there, ball out.
Eventually, he'll have to have one.
He's going to have a good week at one point. And I think this is the week. All right. Give me Evan Ingram to go out there and have a great game. And fans are going to be like, hey, at least he had a great game this week. And he didn't have a bad one last week either.
Actually, I'll save this for after the draft because maybe I don't want to give away any takes if somebody has one. All right, Justin, pick number 3.
Darius Slayton. It's got to happen. Let's see another breakout game. You're the most relied upon. You have to be the most relied upon wide receiver for Daniel Jones. Clearly, the connection hasn't been there with Evan Ingram. Golden Tate just is not consistent enough. Jason Garrett, we've been challenging him to expand the field more, and Darius Slayton is the guy to do it with. So come on, let's say it.
Yeah, my worry about Slayton is that Ramsey's not going to follow him, but I do think Ramsey will probably be matched up on him for the most part.
good value pick, I think, at this point in the draft, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh
That
yeah,
is true.
because Darius Slade, I think any other week probably would have been in one of our first picks, but because of the Rams, then I just have Jalen Ramsey to back of my mind. I can't take him with like full confidence.
Okay, so I'm interested to see. Tate has been this year. Like, he hasn't been horrible. He hasn't been getting any separation, but like he's made like some of the downfield throws that Jones has actually had. Tate has been his target. You know, we started the game off with one last week. And I think because of the way that the Rams try and protect the middle of the field, I think it's honestly going to be a lot of like, hey, collapse on Ingram. And I think Tate might be that second option and have maybe some double moves. Like I said, the Rams defense plays aggressive with no blitzing. So like their secondary plays is aggressive. This game is prime for some double moves. Let's move the ball downfield. Let's make one of their safeties bite on a play action or on a pump fake, and then go deep to the sideline. So I'm going to go Golden Tate, and then for my last pick, I like this player. He may not have a big game because he is the fourth wide receiver, but I really like Van Jefferson, the wide receiver out of Florida. He's a good player, so he's just the fourth guy there. So I would rather go Jefferson. I was thinking about going there backup running back Malcolm Brown because he does get a good amount of carries, but I figured I would just go big on a Van Jefferson big play.
I love that Van Jefferson pick. I'm big on him, and I believe he'll be a huge part of the Rams either at some point this year or in the future.
Justin?
For my final pick, give me Malcolm Brown. I want to go Caden Smith so bad, but he just hasn't been on the field, and that's also been partially a Giants problem, a Jason Garrett problem of like, why are we requiring and asking Evan Ingram to be blocking on a 1st and 10? It low-key cost what could have been a big gain last week on a Devonta Freeman run. So I want to take Caden Smith, but I just can't. Give me Malcolm Brown because he is going to get good volume, and we're in the last round. So again, good value pick, I feel, on my part.
Yeah.
Not being humble this week.
The Steelers did use their backup running back against us late in the game, so that's what made me almost go Malcolm Brown. And like you said, he literally gets splits. He splits the carries, so he could have a big game. So Danny, who was the final pick of this week's draft?
See, I've been thinking hard about this one. Like, do I kind of want to go Caden Smith? Yes. And I think whoopsie. I'm trying to pull on my thing here so I can see it. But I think this week, you know what? No, give me, what's his name? Gerald Everett, the backup tight end to Tyler Higbee. Caden Smith. I like the guy. I love Caden Smith. I think he's a great tight end, but I just don't know if I could really put him on my fantasy team because I'm trying to keep a lead here. And I mean, I went backup last week in Mohamed Sanu, and it worked out well for me. So give me Gerald Everett.
I was thinking about going CJ Board with my pick because he is technically a starting wide receiver for the Giants, but I didn't pull the trigger.
But Danny, your pick is interesting because the Rams do like to run 12 personnel in the 2 tight end sets from time to time. And I think especially if they have a lead, they're going to be running the ball. They're going to be running the ball out of the rushing formation. So they may want the extra big body out there. And every once in a while, they're going to do play action. So I low-key like that pick. So I kind of like it more than Caden Smith, even though it hates me to say it. And that's more or less a Jason Garrett problem, not a Caden Smith problem.
All right, so final teams. Danny has Cooper Kupp, Josh Reynolds, Evan Ingram, and Gerald Everett. Justin, you have Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, Darius Slayton, Malcolm Brown, and I have Darrell Henderson Jr., Devontae Freeman, Golden Tate, and Van Jefferson down by the river. Come on, Mr. Jefferson. All right. Giant factors. Justin, I'm going to let you go first this week.
My giant factor is going to be Darnay Holmes, because we talked about during fantasy picks how Cooper Kupp is lining up against the slot. Darnay Holmes does not have a single pass deflection this year. Has maybe 1 or 2 good plays. Maybe he forced an incompletion, but just doesn't have a pass deflection. He's been getting beat. Not as bad as it could be, like a Grant Haley, but still, it is a weakness. It is a part on this Giants defense. It could go wrong, and Cooper Kupp, outside of Juju Smith-Schuster, maybe even more, some would say, Cooper Kupp is more talented than Juju, and he's going to be lining up primarily in the slot over Darnay Holmes.
Yeah, Holmes seems to be like he is the guy that is just like the giant. He's the giant factor every week. It's like, what happens with our slot corner, Darnay Holmes? Because it's not a situation where it's like Grant Haley is he a guy, then we bench him. Like Holmes is probably going to start at this position all year, no matter how bad he plays. Because there's no one to replace him, and there's no one like that's younger and has more invested in them to bench him for and to say, screw it, let's play this guy. So Holmes, it's gonna be trial by fire for him this year. Holmes it's a big matchup. I wonder if they would put Bradbury in the slot on Cup. I don't think they will. I think they'll match him up on Robert Woods, but do maybe here and there. And Patrick Graham has been creative, so I could see some of that stuff happening.
Yeah, I like the Darnay Holmes pick. I mean, we need our corners to be good because besides Bradbury, we don't got really good options.
No. Do you think Majay Harper gets the start this week at corner?
No, it's too early.
He's not going to get it. Maybe Ryan Lewis does. Did Ryan Lewis? No. Ryan Lewis, he did play that fourth quarter. So
I got an honest question for you guys. Do you think Nate Ebner is like the main guy they go to this week at safety?
That's a great question.
I refuse to say that I think that. Even though part of me thinks they might, I just refuse to believe Nate Ebner will play 40% of the snaps.
Because is Adrian Colbert still not healthy?
No, I don't believe he is.
Did he practice this week? Hold on, I could look it up real quick.
No, I got Dan's thing right here. Limited Adrian Colbert with a quad.
Which tells me it's probably a no. Because Adrian Colbert could be what Julian Love has basically been doing, where Julian Love has basically been the deep safety to start the year. And Colbert did that in Miami. So then you're talking about basically Love and Ryan alternating between, in the box or doing whatever, running wherever across the field, which we want to, I kind of want to see a little bit more out of Julian Love, where I guess, Bobby, there hasn't been a play where we've been shaking our heads at like, what is Julian Love doing at deep safety, but just hasn't made a ton of impact plays. So that's something to keep an eye on. Where Danny, who else would we be putting in there as
Sean Chandler? Maybe if they call him
Sean
up.
Chandler.
Chris Williamson. I mean, they protected Chris Williamson from the practice squad last week, so maybe that's I don't know. I just feel like you can't do the Nate Ebner thing. You can't do the Nate Ebner thing.
They have been. That's the thing.
Or you think they would do Ryan?
Like I would think it would be 0, but they've kind of barely had him there.
Do you think they would do Logan Ryan? Because that was a talk we've had at one point in the season.
Where?
Just put him in a safety role.
Well, I mean, he is going to play, but like I'm saying, we're talking like a third guy.
Oh, okay.
Because I think Graham likes to do 3 safety stuff, which I do like, but maybe it's just Tay Crowder plays a ton of inside linebacker this week, and we do 2 safeties. I wouldn't be excited with that. Tay Crowder played 2 plays, both pass rush snaps. So all right, my giant factor is going to a guy that we love on this show, but he needs to step up. It's Kevin Zeitler, Big Zeitz, Big Kev. Kevin, you sucked against the Steelers. Then you bounced back and had a really good game against the Bears. And this last week against the 49ers, you had plays where you struggled on. Plays that were killed because of you, Kevin Zeitler. Now you go up against Aaron Donald, who you're going to play a little against him and play a little against the other guy. But when you are matched up on Aaron Donald, Kevin Zeitler, you'll have double team help. But win that battle. Be a guy. Don't cause negative plays, Kevin Zeitler. Be the guy that you are paid to be. This is the reason you were paid and make $10+ million. Be able to protect our guy. Don't be a liability in the run game, and let this offense get kickstarted a little bit. Because as much as we're talking about Nick Gates versus Aaron Donald, Nick Gates plays like Aaron Donald doesn't line up directly on the center. He's mostly on the guards. He'll be double teaming and helping, but it's not going to be one-on-one Nick Gates for Aaron Donald much. So I'm going Kevin Zeitler. What do you think?
Kevin Zeitler.
I love that Kevin Zeitler choice because, I mean, our offensive line has really done nothing, and we need Zeitler to be the guy that, we traded for him to be.
I'm not hating the offensive line like a lot of people are. I'm really not. I thought about going Andrew Thomas here because this is a week where he should be dominant. Like, don't let these guys that are borderline decent players, Leonard Floyd, get you. Like, Leonard Floyd's had 2 sacks in 3 games, but Andrew Thomas, bounce back and be dominant after a game you struggled in. And you know what's going to be frustrating is Nick Gates has played solid, but if Aaron Donald kills him on a couple plays, people are going to be like, this guy, this experiment needs to end. Nick Gates has been fine. Please stop blaming Nick Gates, for the love of God. It is the most mind-numbing thing. He has been a bright spot on this team. If you want to, I said this on the O-line breakdown. If you want to upgrade at center in the offseason, whether through the draft or free agency, then do it. But stop blaming this offensive issues on Nick Gates. He is not the problem. And I hate that I'm saying this because I went so hard in the offseason. Me and you talked about this, Justin, where it's like people are just going to think I'm saying he's good because I lobbied for him. But he has been a bright spot for the offense. And he got us 23 yards the other day. Thank you, Nick Gates.
Yeah, I mean, you could watch Shane Lemieux. He's not ready. I mean, Spencer Pulley.
Not going to play unless this dude.
I was on the Spencer Pulley. That was the guy I wanted to start, but I mean, they said Nick Gates is an experiment, at least publicly. So who knows what that will be.
If they bench Nick Gates for Spencer Pulley, I will lose my freaking mind. And I hate to be like the CU guy, but when Spencer Pulley sucks, I will be spinning around in my chair going, see, told you. I freaking told you. I will be a told you so guy if that happens.
I love how you were talking to Kevin Zeitler as you were describing your Giant factor. You were like,
that's
Kevin Zeitler.
It's about challenging. It's about
because he listens to the pod. He listens to this because he's a friend of the program. Yeah. So we got to make sure he gets the message. All right, my Giants factor. This is probably one that no one, honestly, they'll be like, why are you choosing him? But I mean, he got more snaps last week. It's your favorite cornerback, Isaac Yiadom. How do you say his name? Yiadom. I've been saying Yiadom, but Isaac Yiadom.
All up in your dome.
Last week, he went from having he had 34 pass snaps, 25 in the run snaps. That's what I pull in my PFF because I'm a fancy guy. But Isaac Yiadom, he's obviously getting more snaps over Corey Ballantyne. They've obviously given up on Ballantyne because he had 2 total snaps last week. I'm pretty sure, maybe a few more. So Isaac Yiadom, because James Bradbury going to have whoever Woods, and then maybe Yiadom will have either Reynolds or Kupp. I mean, most likely Reynolds. So we need Yiadom to step up because Ballantyne clearly isn't the answer. We don't have another answer behind Yiadom. So we need Yiadom to be the guy. And I don't believe in him fully, but this is the week he needs to step up because I'm getting sick or tired of just these wide receivers running over everyone besides James Bradbury.
Right. All right, so we got quick picks now. Justin, Danny, and the listeners are all tied in first place with 17 at 17-7. I am 15-9. I'm Mr. 5-3. I've went 5-3 every single week. I won't this week though because we're only doing 7 games. Because I was looking for the 8th game, it was going to be bad. I was like, you know what? The Titans Steelers game is postponed, so we're only doing 7 games this week. Danny, you went 7-1 last week, so I'll let you kick it off with the first pick. Thursday Night Football. I'm actually low-key excited for this game. You know, when you're listening to this, you already know what happened. We got Broncos with Tyler Ripien as the starting QB at the Jets. Danny, who are you picking?
Give me our old friend Pat Shurmur to go out there and win this game with Tyler Ripien. Pat Shurmur goes out there, has a hell of a game in his return to MetLife. Broncos win in probably a boring game, but it's football. We all love it.
This is as big as a return to MetLife as Odell. I'm going to tweet that right now. Justin, who are you going?
Sheesh, you're searching for. That's one of those tweets that you're just putting out because you haven't put something out in 4 hours. I've been there. This is a game where I really don't want to. If I was a betting man, I wouldn't bet on it because it's such a crapshoot. Give me the New York Jets. They get their first win. The Johnsons have called, or who's there? Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson called Adam Gase an offensive genius like a couple weeks ago. So the offensive genius is really going to show out tonight.
Patch, if Adam Gase is an offensive genius,
I'm going the Jets, baby.
If Adam Gase is an offensive genius, then Pat Shurmur is an offensive god.
I was a Gase guy in the beginning, but like when the Jets hired him, I didn't think that was a horrible decision. And it just looks like you know what, this guy's been around good QBs his whole life. That him making Jay Cutler better fooled all of us. It was like, oh, it's not just Peyton Manning. He made Jay Cutler look decent. So Adam Gase, you're a psycho. I'm going Broncos too. I believe in my guy Pat Shurmur. They actually have some decent players on defense, so I'm going Broncos. Next game we got Colts at Bears. The listeners went Broncos. The listeners went Colts in this game. Justin, who you taking?
Ooh, I really want to take Big D Nick. We believe in Allen Robinson as well. But you know what? Colts roster's good. Phillip Rivers has kind of surprised me. Jonathan Taylor on one of my fantasy teams. He was kind of an unexpected pick. I took him. It's working out. Give me the Indianapolis Colts.
All right, Justin's going Colts. Danny, who are you going?
Now, give me Big D Nick or Big Stick Nick, since this is a family-friendly pod. I think the Bears now just got second wind under Nick Foles. So I think the Bears go out there, beat Phillip Rivers and the Indianapolis Colts.
I really like the Colts team this year. I think they're going to win that division. That was my surprise pick to win the division, even though a lot of people did it, so it wasn't that big of a surprise pick. That being said, the Bears defense is really good, and I think they're going to do some stuff to really bother Phillip Rivers. And the Colts have a solid defense, but I think Nick Foles is going to figure some stuff out. So I am going with the Bears as well. And I just like the Chicago Bears. They're a team that I've always liked, and I think Nick Foles gives them new life. Like I follow a lot of people who cover the Bears, and there is new life and new excitement around that team now that Nick Foles is the starter. And
this is a two big swing games for me because listeners went Broncos, right? And I went Jets. The rest of you went Broncos. Who did the listeners have for this game?
Listeners went Colts with you as well.
Oh, okay. But still, big swing game because I'm going up against you two guys. So this is going to be big. Very big game.
I wonder what our records are on Thursday night. I went Chiefs to start. Me and Justin were right with the Dolphins last week. What was week 2? Browns and Bengals. I picked Bengals. So last year we did this for Stillman Radio, me, Zach, and Cam. And we were all like 0-5 on Thursday night. Like we didn't win a Thursday night game until week 6. All right, next game. I
lost last week.
Next game, the listeners went Cowboys. We got Browns at Cowboys. The Browns are 2-1. The Cowboys are 1-2. That being said, the Browns have played bad teams. The Cowboys are a talented team. They are the best team in the NFC East. They've ran into some good teams. This is the game that the Cowboys win, and I think they'll win it handedly. Justin?
Cowboys have been screwing me over. I'm pretty sure I've picked. Well, thank God. I think I picked I picked the Falcons to win. I have no. The Cowboys have been screwing me over, but I'm betting on them again. So I feel like I'm going to regret it. I feel like I'm cursed in terms of me picking the Cowboys this year. Stefanski has been pretty impressive to start the year, but give me the Cowboys nevertheless.
Yeah, Stefanski has been impressive, but like you said, they've played bad teams. Danny, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. They played bad teams. Give me the Cowboys this week.
Yeah, Odell might be hurt too. Vikings at Texans. Justin.
I'm a gluttony for punishment. Give me the Vikings.
Boy, you analytic nerds look real dumb with this. Kirk Cousins is better than Aaron Rodgers.
I blame Gary Kubiak. Gary Kubiak.
Kirk Cousins stinks. He stinks. Bro, he is a loser. He is the Paul George of football. Even though he's not even nowhere near talented as Paul George, but he's just an overall loser. That's what Kirk Cousins is. Like I get it's a narrative. No, it's not a narrative. It's true. He sucks. Danny, who do you got?
Well, I mean, I can't go to Texans. They've looked awful. So I got to go Minnesota. I mean, they're probably going to win this week, but I mean, the Vikings haven't looked good. I'm changing my mind. I'm going the Texans. I talked myself out of it. Give me the Texans this week.
Freaking wrote it down. All right. Yeah, the Texans have played the Chiefs, the Ravens, and then who did they play? And then the Steelers. 3 of I think are some of the best teams in the NFL. I think the Texans are going to be bad this year without Hopkins, but Deshaun Watson's going to win this game. I'm going Texans.
Do you want to hear something crazy about Kirk Cousins?
That he sucks? That's not crazy.
No. This is exactly what I'm going to say. Football Outsiders does their own calculation for QBR. It takes into account like a clutch factor, splits responsibility between quarterback and wide receivers and blockers, drops, and et cetera, et cetera. So Kirk Cousins currently has a lower QBR than Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones actually has a higher QBR according to Football Outsiders than Tom Brady. So take that.
Yeah. Kirk Cousins and Daniel Jones are both 2 of like the 5 QBs with more interceptions than touchdowns. All right. Patriots at Chiefs. Do you guys have any hot takes on this one? I'm going Chiefs. They're just the better team.
I want to go Pats.
I want to go Patriots.
I do too, but the Chiefs are a better team.
Yeah, I gotta go Chiefs because I'm trying to, obviously win this whole thing. I mean, honestly, it would not shock me if the Patriots win this one because I believe in Cam Newton. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go Chiefs on this one.
If the Chiefs didn't get off to as great of a start as they did last week, because they have, especially against that Chargers game, that it was the comeback king of Patrick Mahomes. But I mean, from start to finish, they just look like a team where you're asking yourself, who is going to stop the Kansas City Chiefs? That's what you're asking yourself. Nevertheless, the Pats played really well. Chiefs have won, I believe, 3 of their last 5 matchups. I've been going against you guys too much. Give me the Chiefs.
Okay. Eagles at 49ers. The Eagles are a mess right now. The 49ers, I get, are injured. But I think Kyle Shanahan's the best head coach in football. I'm going Niners in this one as well as the listeners. Danny?
What a boring Sunday night game. We had Packers, Saints a few weeks ago, and there was another good one. Patriots, Seahawks, and then we got Eagles, 49ers. What a blow. Yeah, give me the Niners.
Justin?
This game will always have a spot in my heart.
Don't do it.
For Carson Wentz, but he's been terrible this year.
Okay.
Give me Niners. I still think this has the potential to be somewhat of a good game because I believe in Peterson. I believe in Wentz.
I have believed in Wentz. Like I've given Wentz every benefit of the doubt. He looks bad, like rattled. Yeah. Something's wrong. Like something's wrong in the head, man. He might be one of those guys that he's just a head case. Like I think Carson Wentz might be a head case where when everything like that MVP year, everything works. But with the whole full stuff and they draft Jalen Hurts, I think Carson Wentz is just a head case. Like he's an awesomely talented player, but he's a head case. Did you guys see that live stream I went on where I retweeted the Eagles guy? The guy was so Philly. He's like, dude, we can't start Jalen Hurts now. Are you crazy? He's like, Carson Wentz, he's a good running quarterback.
Hi, Bird Gang shooter.
The most Philly guy I've ever seen, ever. Those periscopes are fun. I met a very pretty voice girl. We might actually have her on for picks next week, so we'll see what happens.
Wait, Danny, could you do that impersonation again?
Hi. Oh, Jesus Christ. I just voice cracked. Oh, sorry, Bobby. My bad. Hi, Bird Gang shooter.
Hi, Bird Gang shooter. That was so funny.
I'm going to make that into a drop.
All right. The poo-poo PP game of the week. We got Jags at Bengals. Listeners went Bengals. I'm going Jags. Justin?
Yeah, I'm going Jags as well. They've been establishing the run. Bobby Skinner, kill me. They've been running,
James Robinson.
They've been running the ball pretty well. Like 120, 140. I think it's 100 yards per game. So I can't believe I just did a volume stat. Give me the Jags.
Give me Joe Burrow and the Bengals to win this one.
Okay. All right, picks. Danny, what is your prediction for Giants-Rams?
My prediction for Giants Rams. Also want to let us know Mekhi Becton just went down. Just to let you know, Bobby.
The game's actually on?
Yeah, it's on right now. Mekhi Becton just went down. My predictions for this week, the Giants have broke up me. I'm not even going to mention 2016, that Giants Ram game, a fantastic game. 2017 Giants Rams, we're never going to speak of that game in our lifetime again.
Do you think it could be another 2017 Giants Rams game?
God, I turned that game off. I couldn't watch it anymore. I'm gonna do reverse karma this week. Give me the Rams to win, so the Giants will win this one. And so give me the Rams to win. I'm gonna do it like 55-2, and then the Giants are gonna go out there and beat the Rams and shock the world.
I personally have a 2-1 record on the year when picking the Giants, and I feel very good about that. Give me Los Angeles. I have a 2-1 record when picking Giants games this year.
He picked.
I thought you were saying picking the Giants. Okay.
No, when picking Giants games this year, I have a 2-1 record, and I'm taking Rams. Give me 27-13. This is going to be another ugly game. Offense isn't going to be able to do anything, and a lot of people are going to get mad at the defense because the offense can't do anything.
Justin, you're right. This Rams team is good. They are really good. Or they're a good team. The Giants, they're struggling. We've never been more demoralized as Giants fans, man. It's just like what is going right? We don't like Jason Garrett. This defense struggles on third down. It's just like we're just a team that's too young, not ready to win games. But the Giants are going to win. They're going to win big. Giants 77, Rams 0. I want to rip the horns off of the Rams. And if you reply to my tweet prediction with
this aged well,
your mother will break her back. How about that?
Oh.
She will have a broken back within a day. Don't do that to your mother. Giants win 77-0.
I thought that was going to be much worse. I think that was actually a little
My
nicer.
mother has historically bad back problems.
Then
so
do not tweet. Then don't do the tweet. Don't do the tweet. Simple as that.
He's laid down the law.
All right. So Mekhi Becton went down. That's a real shame. Sucks for anyone who picked the Jets, dummies. All right. No, Becton's back in. He's back in.
No, he's on the injury tent.
He's back in the game. I'm looking at it right now. 3rd and 4. 3rd and 4. Play by
That's
play.
not Becton.
Donald drops
I
back.
bet you $5
Scans,
that's
scrambles.
That's not Becton.
Becton is number 77.
No, he's 75, isn't he?
No, you're definitely wrong. You are
Wait.
totally wrong.
No, he's 75.
Danny, I literally do a breakdown of Mekhi Becton every week. He's 77.
That is true. That is true.
All right, that's an episode. Let's win freaking game. And let's go Big Blue.